Welcome everyone to this panel session with the headline partner of today's conference, boxxe. I'm Rachael, a member of the Women in Defence Leadership Team, and I'm joined by, this morning, boxxe CEO Phil Doy. Hi Phil.
Hi.
Head of People, Sarah Hetherington. Hi Sarah.
Hi.
Rob Hennessy, who leads their MOD activities. Hi Rob.
Hello.
And last but not least, Alex Taylor, who's a senior account manager in Rob's team. Hi Alex.
Hi.
So let's get to it. boxxe exists to enable organisations such as those across the defence enterprise to be the best they can be through the use of technology, and by giving every person, wherever they are in the world, the confidence to use that technology and drive efficiency and effectiveness in every aspect of their working lives. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you very much for partnering with Women in Defence for our annual conference. Earlier this year, in the midst of the first wave of the pandemic, the management team at Software Box Limited, or SBL, decided to implement their plans to rebrand. The idea had been under discussion for some time following the acquisition by Phil, but nothing had moved forward yet. Today I'm going to ask, what on earth were they thinking? Why did they choose to challenge themselves and their employees to go through such a disruptive thing when across the world there was already disruption? And what lessons can we as individuals learn from their experiences? So Phil, what were you thinking?
So I guess it's a great question to, why did we do that? And I think, like everyone else, when the pandemic first hit and, the announcements came out, I think like everyone else, we were, I suppose, shell-shocked. What do we do? But as the weeks went by, in those early weeks, I think it became clear that a new norm was emerging. And I think, as you alluded to, we as a business had kind of been under discussion about rebranding and how we need to present ourselves to our customers, but had kind of put that on pause. We thought there's no way that this is the right time to do that. But I think as that new norm started to emerge, I think we realized that in order for us to really be relevant in that new normal, we had to emerge with a different brand to reflect some of the things that we'd been working on since the acquisition, some of the initiatives. And I think also, actually, lockdown, what it caused the business to do was really reflect on almost everything that it did. Everything that it did in respect to how it interacted with customers, how it allowed staff to work flexibly, how our people were able to give the best they can and effectively become the best version of themselves. And so it almost became a question, rather than should we rebrand, it almost felt like it was impossible for us not to rebrand. And actually, had we not done so, we'd have been missing something.
Great, thanks Phil. I'm going to pick up on some of your comments in a few moments, but first I want to go to Sarah to talk about the people aspect. So Sarah, what about the people, Sarah? How was it for them?
Yeah, so I think a lot of our people, or boxers as we now call them, they were expecting a rebrand, but they weren't necessarily expecting a new name. And a lot of our people have worked for us for a long time and had a really strong connection to the old name. And so we had to really think about how we communicated that to them in a way that really meant something. And so actually just the name and the logo wasn't enough, and presenting them with the strapline, making technology human, the mission that you read out at the beginning of this session, and the values really created together something that told people what boxxe was about, that was more than just a name, more than just a brand, but something that they could really get behind. And it really unified us as a team and as a business, and it then took some time to bring people along the journey with us. People who'd only recently joined the company had less of an affinity with the old brand than the people who'd been here a long time. And so for those people, they kind of had to catch up with it. And a lot of people I was speaking to were saying, I get it, I get why we're doing it. I just need to get used to saying boxxe. But by the time we hit that 1st of September point and everyone was sat there in their boxxe hoodies, it really felt like we were together, and we'd come through this time of change, and this time, particularly in the world where things were so uncertain. It really brought us together to be something, to move forward together as a team of boxers, and just created something that was special, I think, that we could take then to move forward.
Great, thank you for that, Sarah. I love this story. Every time I hear it, I love the stories that come out from you guys even more. And what unfortunately I think everyone that's watching this can't see that I can is every boxxe that is on screen is nodding and smiling in everything you're saying. Everybody is relating. For those watching, there are more than just the panel. We have the people that are helping run this, so it's not just the 4 people and me that you're seeing. There's lots of enthusiasm and passion across this team that I can see. So I'm going to keep on to this people of subject of people even for a little bit longer. Rob, you're the MOD team, many of which have been with the company for quite a long time. To Sarah's point, people that have been around for a while, and they've gone through different challenges in different ways, not always necessarily positively challenged. So how did your team take to this disruption and the new challenge?
Yeah, very good question. I think we've adapted and changed really well, and I think one of the reasons for that is the team are already used to disruption and challenge because of the past number of years of working within the MOD space. You know, the last 5+ years of how we've been engaging with that customer base on a day-to-day basis has changed massively. Everyone's had to develop new skill sets, engage in different ways, understand different strategies and engagements and everything else. And to be honest, no day is the same for a lot of the team. So when all this has happened, it's been a, you know, I'm not saying that it's been an easy process, but I think it's a team that's hardened to accepting the idea that things don't stay the same, that you have to, you know, look at things in maybe a different light. Does it take time? Yes, it does. Does everyone come along at the same time? Not all the time, but especially for me, I've been very pleased with how we've done that, especially as Mod look to kind of modernize and embrace digital transformation. That's a lot of what we're doing at the same time as well, as part of what we want to do as a company, but also how we're going to be working with our customers for a long period of time. So yeah, you know, obviously outside of the idea of, you know, Phil buying the company, so it's not just the disruption of the brand, but it's also the fact that when Phil bought SBL, even before we had the brand rechange, things changed. And I think the culture, the strategy that we wanted to adopt, and how we've had to bring people along with that. So before the rebrand happened, we were still talking about what we wanted to be, what it looked like, but it wasn't just about setting out a vision and saying you will all be part of this. It's about actually engaging and communicating with the staff to say, what should it look like? Because we all have to work in different ways with the different sectors that we work within. So really interesting process to go through. Easy to manage? No. You know, it's definitely easy to manage being in the office. We're a really tight-knit team. With a lot of people have been with the company 7, 8, 9, 10 or more years. And, you know, suddenly with COVID, and I know everyone's going to talk about COVID at different times, but suddenly not being in the office and then going through a rebrand, I know people will talk about, and people will appreciate this as well. It's not been easy for anyone, but especially for such a tight-knit team to then not have that kind of personal engagement, not just for what we want to do as a business, but the rebrand as well, and feeling part of something. And that's been something, you know, brilliant from the senior leadership at the company, but all the way throughout is everyone trying to help each other and really kind of make a difference. So that's been great.
Fabulous, thanks for that, Rob. I'm going to come back and ask anybody. I'm going to speak to Alex in a second, but really nice points that Rob just made. So if everyone, I'm going to come back and ask everybody if they want to comment on anything in a moment. But Alex, I want to come to you first. And sort of, I'm intrigued to know, with what Rob was just saying as well about being a tight-knit community and not necessarily, but not being easy to manage. Wouldn't have been easy to manage in normal circumstances, but this disruption on disruption. How was it for you as a member of his team? I won't tell him what you say. As a member of his team, How was it? Did your heart sink when you heard this was coming? You're on at the front talking to your clients on a regular basis. How was it, and what's been the reality?
Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised when I found out we were changing name. And I think kind of I was prepared for a bit of a backlash, perhaps, from customers who maybe thought, oh, it's another change. I already don't know what shift I'm doing, when I can be on site and things like that. So I was kind of prepared when having those early days conversations with customers for there to be just a bit, for them to be a bit unsettled and unsure of what we were doing. But the reality is I was really surprised, and it turns out I'd been unnecessarily cynical. And people were really embracing of it, and we have, as a company, since Phil bought us, we have changed. And I mean, I've always been proud to work for SBL, just as proud to work for boxxe, because of the core principles that we have and the way that we do work with our customers and the way that we engage with them. That hasn't changed at all, but what has changed is what we can do, the capabilities that we have. And we have grown, and we're only 18 months in, and only a month into being boxxe, 2 months. So it's fitting that the change came at this time, when really, I mean, 2020 hasn't gone to plan for, I think it's fair to say, most people. We're all on this crazy roller coaster ride, so why not embrace it and dive in head first, which is exactly what we've done as a whole company. So it was really refreshing for me, to be honest, to speak to people and say, look, I know you've worked with SBL. I mean, I've been within SBL on boxxe for 7 years, and obviously letting people know about these changes. It was really positively received, and it was understood. It was understood that they've got the same integrity and the same principles we had before. We can trust us in the same way, but we're going to be better, and we're going to be able to support you better. And that was really positive, and I was quite impressed. And as I say, I'd kind of prepared for the worst case, and it was really refreshing with how it was taken on, and it's been great. And I think because it wasn't just a name change, there's so much more to it. It's certainly been easy to relate that and pass that through.
Absolutely fantastic to hear. Such a fab story. I love it. Although I hate roller coasters.
Fair enough.
Phil, do you have some comments to reflections on what we've just been talking about?
Yeah, I think just following on about the people and the impact on our people. I think one of the opportunities it's given us, and this is both from a customer perspective, but also from our own perspective, is we've had to stop both sides of the fence what we were doing before. Okay, we've carried on kind of processing orders and liaising with customers, but actually we've had to really reevaluate how it is we do business. And I think, we're at an event today which is Women in Defence, but I guess that kind of just leads into a more question about diversity in our own organisation and how we do that. And we were both a very York-centric business, and I think as we've almost come out of that hamster wheel of just doing the same thing because we've been forced to, we've really, I think, thought about it in terms of how can we enable our people to interact with our customers in a new and improved way, one that reflects the balances that they have in their own lives. So for example, in the old world, someone like Alex would probably spend many hours during a week just driving between various sites. Now that's not been possible, and okay, there has been a downside with that lack of personal contact, and that's something that we've missed. But by the same token, actually Alex has been able to be much more effective, bring much more value to the customer by actually being able to spend more quality time, by not being distracted. And I think ultimately this comes back to our people, because if our people are well motivated, they're in an environment that allows them to perform at the highest level, ultimately our customers get a better service, they get a better relationship with us, they get more from us, more value. And I think what this has done has allowed us to do it. And just to come back to the boxxe, I think we couldn't have done that under the guise of SBL. It would have been misunderstood. So this has just allowed us to really come to market and say we're different. And actually, let's think about how we can work differently with you now, but also in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's gone hand in hand, that the way in which we have worked has, as Phil said, instead of being in service stations and sat in motorway traffic all the time, I've been able to, and I suppose pushed along into utilising the technology that we encourage, that we do sell to our customers and encourage them to use effectively. It's been great doing that on the other side and being able to be more responsive and adaptive. Because you can even, I mean, a lot of military sites I know are kind of doing either split days or split weeks, and it really is kind of here, there and everywhere, as opposed to being tied down 9 to 5. But how that works well now is that if I need to speak to an account or a customer, if they need me to be responsive, they can drop me a message and I can just stay at work a bit later in the day, and or shift my hours, and I've got access to everything that I need to be able to do, to be able to give them that flexibility and responsiveness and still do my job effectively. So it really has gone hand in hand with that modern approach to working, which is we're benefiting from as the people of boxxe, but also that our customers are benefiting from and will continue to benefit from. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I was thinking the other day, I think if the change had been done when we were all still in the office, I think it would have been harder to get your head around, because you still sat within the same 4 walls and you still sat in the same desk, and it wouldn't have felt like as much had changed. Whereas I'm aware now that when I do go back into the office, it'll be a different office and it'll be a new company, and I think that's a refreshing mindset to be able to have.
Thank you for such as I think listen to everything you're saying. It's absolutely fascinating. Disruption is scary. It can be very scary, and there is no perfect time for it. Either the idea of doing it, everybody sits there. Okay, let's do this now. Oh no, it doesn't work because we've got this big contract coming through. We don't want to have to innovate, or we've got this big event that we've already got planned. There's never a good time, and when you start to look at it, internalize it as well personally, is there ever a good time to have a baby? Is there ever a good time to change job? There are so many different things when you start to bring it onto yourself. But as you've been highlighting, all of you think incredible benefits, really good benefits, and from what you've been saying to me as well, what you've just been mentioning, there's the benefits are threefold. You're having them as individuals, you're having them as an organization, and you're able to bring them to your clients. And sort of what we're all here to do, is that we challenge on what we do to improve benefits, and the rewards that we get around that, whether it's positive change, promotion, new life skill, new experience. But I guess it's interesting, the rewards aren't necessarily, you can't see what the rewards and benefits are always going to be in clarity. So Phil, I'm going to ask you another question on that in a second. And you've sort of just covered it with only a handful of weeks into the implementation, and you've talked about the benefits and what's been achieved from the disruption. Both I'd like to answer it both personally and maybe from an organisation viewpoint. Have the outcomes so far been not as good as you were expecting, or better?
So it's a difficult question to ask me, because people say that I kind of live in a state of perpetual dissatisfaction, and that's not to say that I'm unhappy. I'm not. But to ask me a question whether things could have gone better, I will always give you the same answer, even whether they've done brilliantly. They can always have gone better, and there's always more to do. So that's probably the preface. But I think very tangibly, customers will have seen over the last 6-7 months an increase in the innovation that we're bringing them, an increase in the number of services that we're presenting them with, a better understanding of their own business, a better understanding of what we need to do to add value, to stay relevant to them. And I think that has been brought about, one, by, of course, extra investment that came about through the acquisition, but also just, again, coming back to this point about our people now have more time. They now have better interaction. So oddly, the effectiveness of meetings together via video, and I know that we all kind of suffer a little bit from video conference fatigue, but actually, the effectiveness of those meetings just mean that the output is just much greater, and I for that I can see tangibly that we're doing so much more now than we would have done before. If I'm a customer of boxxe in January of this year, a customer today, I know that I'm being presented with so many more opportunities to interact with the company, so many solutions and services that actually are meaningful to me and are relevant to me, and that can help me transform in the job that I do. So I think very obvious benefits to that, and so it's kind of a win-win. Actually our customers are getting a better version of us, our people are getting a better work-life balance, they're getting a more rewarding experience, and that kind of keeps going on. I think also the other thing that it's allowed us to do is kind of evolve a little bit more from our roots in York, so that as we recruit, and we've recruited, I think getting towards 20 people since lockdown, that actually that there's a greater diversity geographically of the people that are joining us, and a greater diversity of thought, and I think that's helping the business come up with different ways in which we can look at things. So that creativity is definitely improved.
Great. Sarah, what about for you? Just thinking about this disruption, challenging yourself and the impact it's had. What about that from your viewpoint, but again, for you and for people at boxxe?
Yeah, so I think first of all, disruption and change, it like you say, it's scary and it's hard, but when you can, we have the benefit of hindsight of being able to go, right, we've been through this now and it's been worth it. But if I think right back to the beginning of looking into the future, going, right, in 3 months' time this is where we'll be, we've got all these things to do to get there, and we've got to bring these people with us. That's a scary challenge for me personally, for us as a team, and then thinking about how are all of these people who work for us going to respond to that, and bringing that along with them and with us. And I think that is scary, and particularly in the world that we found ourselves in, where our workforce were experiencing the external factors that were going on so differently to each other. We had parents who were at home trying to homeschool their kids. We'd got people who were at home on their own and hadn't seen another human being for months. We had staff who were shielding. We had people who actually were really enjoying spending more time with their family and had young children, and that was great for them. And trying to take all of that into consideration at the same time for people, and realizing that we were all going through this same thing but experiencing it so differently from one another, was a challenge. But when I look at the benefits, and I see, Phil mentioned there around recruitment, we've been able to onboard, it is about 20 people, and we've got another 7 or so starting in the next 4 weeks. And being able to throw that net so wide and not just look at the local talent pool, but being able to look at the national talent pool and get some really great people in to join our team, onboard them remotely and get to know them probably better than had we have been sat in the office with them, because we've had really good quality one-to-one time with people that's been focused on getting to know them, and that's been the emphasis. It hasn't just been about, right, here's your job, here's the documents you need. It's been about who are you, and this is me, and what are you about, what's your history, what's your story. And actually we've really got to know people. I think that's been a real positive for us and for our teams. And equally, our managers and our team relationships have seen massive benefits too through this. We've all gone through this disruption of COVID and the change of going from SBL to boxxe, and being able to utilise the technology that we have to be in contact with each other, whether that's video or messaging, being able to collaborate on documents remotely, being able to have really good private one-to-one conversations with staff that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to do in the office, has seen so many benefits. And I think the relationship between our team members and our line managers has improved dramatically, and people really are working in a much more collaborative way. So yeah, the benefits of what we see have been brilliant, but that journey and that standing there at the beginning going, well, we know where we want to get, but this is daunting. So I guess it's definitely been worth it, but it has been hard.
Right, thank you. Rob, I'm going to come to you. So you talked about how, for your team in particular, disruption, challenge, change was sort of the norm. It's what we experience across the defence enterprise. We have to, things change, we have to roll, we have to react. That's what happens. And Sarah has made the comment about sort of being at the start was scary, but now it's done. Do you think it's done, or are you just now? The whole team, the whole boxxe team has learned from. Learned from is the wrong phrase. Has embodied that resiliency and ability to change and be dynamic in the same way that your team has. Is everybody now embracing disruption and challenge on a day-to-day basis?
I'd like to think they are. I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah, it's I think there's so much more to do, especially for us within the defence space, because one of the strongest kind of teams that we've had for so many years, for 30 odd years, has been the defence sector. And our name, we would hope is fairly synonymous with, great customer service and a whole range of things that we've done through the years with MOD directs as well as defence partners. For us, one of the biggest, I'd probably say fears is losing the brand that people know and then having to go and have those chats. So where Alex was saying it's refreshing and exciting, and it definitely is, but it's also that bit where we definitely have so much more work to do to engage and describe, and especially because the MOD infrastructure, you can't just say that something to one person and everyone's going to understand. It's such a big organization. There's so many different people that we work with on different levels. It's quite a challenge. The team has stepped up to it brilliantly. It's great to have a story to tell. It's great to be relevant as well, and to start to act in a different way with customers. At the same time, I think personally from my side, when you're asking about the personal and professional challenges, sometimes being a manager as well and having quite a large team to look after, you get into this kind of state of hyper communication, like you're trying to communicate with everyone and keep everyone up to date, and it's that in itself is a kind of, right, I need to make sure that I'm telling people this and that and the other, and bringing everyone together, because you have to do that in certain ways. It's, the business will make some decisions, how that then filters down into what I do as a manager day to day, but also going through the change myself in terms of the disruption and the challenges, not just being a manager and dealing with other people who are working from home that have got different issues happening at different times. You've also then got to kind of bring yourself on board as well, and how you feel, and work through your own feelings.
Yeah, you're a champion of change as well as a customer of change.
Yeah, and I've probably experienced this more. Like my outlook, I kind of have to change as a manager as well. We all have to go through a process of understanding ourselves in a different way, and also then how that's communicated both to our customers, the people we engage with day to day, but the team especially, because we need to have that, because in the current situation, if you miscommunicate or if you don't bring people on board with you, it's very, very difficult, really difficult. So that's something that we're really focused on.
Alex.
So I think one of the things that has made this so successful as a period of transition is, as kind of Sarah alluded to, the approach that boxxe takes is that, yes, we are a community, yes, we are a team, but everyone is a person. Everyone has their circumstances, their life, and to get the best out of someone as an employee is to embody and take on all of that and allow them to remain an individual who is a crucial part of this community. And I think that that's something that's been managed really successfully from the minute the old corona situation landed and all of this did happen. Everyone has been valued and everyone's had a voice and had an opinion and been listened to, and I think that's been crucial, and it goes hand in hand with kind of the flexibility and the modern approach that we are now representing. But I think that was that was a really key point and carried out so well and enabled success in what we've done, is that everyone was still valued as a person as well as part of this wider community, and everyone has been listened to. So yeah, certainly from my point of view, that's been fantastic. And I think if more companies had that approach and had that mentality, then job satisfaction is a huge part of it, and it would just be through the roof. So yeah, that's certainly been something I'm very proud of and happy as part of boxxe.
So I can just thinking, again, reflecting back on things that you've said, you've told me, is that I think it was almost a unifying experience. Everybody was disparate, everybody was out at home going through all kinds of external crazy, and yet this was a mission and a purpose that you were able to bring everybody aligned with, that made them feel like they were part of something at a time when they'd been thrown everywhere. You've been able to bring that net wider. Your disruption has actually created the team. When it could have thrown it apart, it's brought it together. And as individuals, it sounds like across the organisation, people are challenging themselves more, and you're challenging the enterprise more as well, from what I'm picking up. I would be really interested to know from each of you, as we start to come towards the end of the pre-recorded session, is are you finding you want to disrupt yourself and challenge yourself more? Has it become, and not, maybe it's on a small basis, maybe it's on a bigger basis, or have you thought, right, yes, we've done this, next year I'm going to go and do the 3P challenge, or I'm going to climb a mountain as soon as I'm able to get an air bridge somewhere? Has it changed you, and would you recommend looking at your personally to others, looking a little bit more out there and being disruptive and challenging yourself?
Sorry, I'll dive in. I do think, because I always think you never sit back and smile about the things you didn't do or the risks you didn't take. And this is a prime example of an opportunity arose, and we were well placed to say, like, right, okay, we're going to come out of this new company, we're going to come out of this as boxxe, having gone into it as SBL. And I think we've done that. We've gone headfirst into it, and I'm glad that we did. I'm glad we did it when we did. And as I say, it's always worth taking the chance and then reminiscing rather than never doing anything. And just it's easy to stay stagnant, and that is what we don't do and aren't doing. And I think this is a perfect example of the approach that we take and the approach of boxes. So yeah, I'm not going to do any 3P because I'm having a baby in about 2 months, so I won't put my name down for anything like that. But yeah, certainly it's kind of further verified to myself in everything really is to, yeah, if you've got a chance, you've got an opportunity, dive in head first. At the end of the day, failure is the lesson. So yeah, why not? And I'm proud of boxxe, and I'm proud of where we're going.
Rob, how about you? Are you more like to disrupt yourself and challenge yourself now and mention that to others?
Oh, I don't know. I've you know, this whole process has probably made me be quite introspective in some ways, actually questioning a lot about, you know, where do I fit, you know, what do I want to achieve from the future. I think professionally it certainly has done, and I definitely see within the team as well that kind of wider acceptance. And I think, to be honest, people that have been with the company a long time, where change happened maybe at a small level, but there was never any big change. It was very easy to kind of just every day was just the day that you did the same things, you worked with the same customers. We didn't really go above and beyond in some ways because that strategy wasn't there. Seeing people kind of being opened up to different opportunities and different ways of engaging, you certainly see that definite shift in thinking. But obviously a lot of this takes time. I think our culture takes time to develop as a new company. It's taken the best of what we had, but you can't just say, oh, we'd like to have this culture of, you know, equality and diversity and everything else. It doesn't happen because you say it. You actually have to do it. And I think probably that's one of the big challenges, is it's a lot harder to actually do it than to say it. And so within the management layers, but also I think down through the teams, it's a case of creating that culture together. And this has definitely bonded us, but then again, it's part of that journey, and you have to have a journey, you know, where it's next year, it's the year after, it's the year after, as we develop that out. And I think we'll see a lot of people accepting, you know, disruption and change, and actually wanting to have different careers, and hopefully the company will also afford them that as well. So that's going to be a great future for us.
Sarah, how about you? What do you think? Are you now challenging yourself more and disrupting the world around you in a positive way more?
Yeah, I think the last probably 12 months, and particularly the last 6 months of this journey, has definitely given me a hunger to constantly look at what's next, and think about how can I improve myself professionally. I think for me there's kind of 3 areas. There's me and my own personal development and career, and how can I constantly move forward, but that's always so closely linked for me with how is me developing going to benefit our team, and our business and our culture. And by looking at what's new and what's out there, and what are other people doing, and how does that fit for boxxe, that's constantly on my mind all the time. And then there's the personal side of it for me in my own life and my own world, and that for me honestly is slightly more scary than the professional risks, but I think having gone through these changes professionally, it makes me more likely to challenge myself in my own personal life, because I see now the immense satisfaction that it gives me and my team members when we go through these hard things and we make changes. And when we've made changes, they've always been to make things better. And ultimately, when you've put that thing in place and you've got to that point and you go, right, we are so far away from where we were, but we're still so far away from where we want to be, and we've got to keep going. And I think some of that has definitely seeped into my personal life, 100%.
Fantastic. And finally, over to Phil. You and your team have created this complete behavior and adoption of the mindset for being positively disruptive in personal and professional world, and challenging yourselves more. What's next for you? What are you going to continue to be disruptive? Is that more excitement coming along?
Yeah, so I think it's been lovely just listening to Alex and Sarah and Rob just talk about their own experiences and how they found the last months. I think, you know, you can't overlook the fact that actually this type of change and disruption is really difficult, and in the background, you know, we've spent a lot of investment into you know, external people coming along and helping, you know, with kind of personal development, both for our kind of senior leadership team, but across the business. And I think that's, you need to make people resilient. You can't just ask people to change and not give them the tools to be able to change. So I'm very much of the view that we will continue to be disruptive. We will continue to be dissatisfied with where we are, and that will drive an ongoing evolution of the business. But we need to do that recognizing that people need help. People need, you know, you often don't know what you don't know, and unless someone tells you it, you're really lost. So, you know, actually what we need to do to continue that disruption is to continue to invest in our people, continuing to make sure that the things we do allow them to be the best version of themselves. And that in itself becomes the fuel that leads to us doing more, because it isn't me saying we want to do more. It's not me coming to the business and saying we're going to do X, Y, Z. It's actually, you know, just listening to, you know, Alex just talk about her kind of ambitions in the business. You know, it's people like Alex and others across the business who will be taking us there, because they themselves have got on that journey, and they themselves are, you know, see what we can achieve. And we exist in a wonderful market. You know, we exist in a place where, you know, we can continually develop services and solutions that will make our customers' lives better. You know, it will make them able to do things that they didn't think were possible, and that will continue to be the case. So the opportunity for us to evolve and change is almost unlimited. And I will continue to be dissatisfied and continue to be wanting to do more. So hopefully we'll get further along the journey.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your comment. So that is the end of our pre-recorded panel. We're going to swap over to the live Q&A now, when you can pose your questions to the boxxe team on disruption, positive disruption, challenge, a constant sense of dissatisfaction, all those sorts of things. But if you could please bear with us for a minute or two while we swap over, that would be fantastic, but we'll see you shortly.